Hello.
Hi, Fiona.
Hello, Keir. I want to ask you, Keir, that in the light of Sir David King's horrible prediction that what we do over the next 3 or 4 years is going to determine the future of humanity, as a mum or a grandma, I'm absolutely terrified of what I see happening all over the world. And I know the Labour Party have policy of banning fracking and no more new oil and gas. But I'm a big supporter of Just Stop Oil, because they're saying no new oil and gas. And they want you to not take any more oil and gas from fields that already have consent. So could you please reassure me that you are taking Sir David King's prediction seriously? And if you were Prime Minister, you would really act on that, and there would be genuinely no more new oil and gas, as Just Stop Oil are asking for.
Well, Fiona, let me just deal with Just Stop Oil, because I think they're wrong. I think their action is wrong. I think, I particularly think about the images we've seen of ambulances coming down the road and not being able to get through because people have glued themselves to the road. Fiona, my mum was very ill all of her life. She was in those ambulances when she was alive, and there'll be other families listening to this who are in the same situation. I think it's arrogant. It's arrogant. Now, the underlying question, Fiona, that you put is really important, because I do think that the action we take in the next few years, probably the next 10 years or so, will be absolutely determinative. We won't get to net zero in 2015 if we don't take the right measures now. And that's why, Fiona, we've set out what we call our Green Prosperity Plan, which is to absolutely go for renewables. Renewables, by the way, are 9 times cheaper than gas. So there's no argument for not going for renewables. I think that we can have clean power by 2030, and that will do 4 things, Fiona, which are really important. Firstly, it'll bring our bills down, desperately needed for families this winter. Secondly, it'll give us security. If we use renewables here in Britain, then we're not exposed to the international market. Putin doesn't get to put his foot on our throats. Third thing is there's a huge next generation of jobs bound up in renewables. And the fourth thing is we've, of course, got to be serious about our climate obligations. So we've brought that together. I think this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity, Fiona. So I'm absolutely up for that. I think it's arrogant of those gluing themselves to the road to think they're the only people that have got the answer to this. They haven't got the answer. And I don't know how they can look in the eye of the families who've got someone in the back of an ambulance. They certainly wouldn't be able to look me in the eye if it was my mum, late mum now, sadly, who was in that ambulance.
To Fiona's point, Sir Keir, no new oil or gas licences. Can you give that pledge now?
Yes, I can. We accept there's got to be a transition. So where there is oil and gas already being yielded, that needs to continue as part of the transition. But no new sites, no new fields to be opened. We need to transition to renewables. We can do it. We can double our onshore wind, we can triple our solar energy, and we can quadruple our offshore wind. And the sooner we do that, the better. I do think that new nuclear as well and hydrogen are part of the equation.
Lastly on this, when you hear some senior police officers say they don't have the necessary powers to lift these people off the carriageway or the roundabout or wherever it might be within minutes, what is, referencing, of course, your previous job, what is the reality?
Oh, look, there are the powers to do it. And obviously I was the Director of Public Prosecutions for 5 years. There were a lot of demonstrations and protests then. It wasn't the lack of law to do it, it was the decision making. We didn't have any cases that came across my desk where I said, well, it's obviously wrong, but we haven't got the laws to prosecute. We always had the laws available. That's why I think some of the position of the government recently has been about posturing rather than actually taking this case forward.
So we don't need these new laws that the government talk of. We've got everything necessary.
Well, what we were pushing for in that was longer sentences for those who are gluing themselves to roads and motorways, because that's where you're putting lives at risk. We didn't get that through, but that's what I wanted.
And that's what you'd want in the future?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.